Hi, I'm Georgiana, and I'm back with a new episode of the Speak English Now podcast, the podcast that helps you speak English fluently with no grammar and no textbooks. If you want to help me, share the podcast with your friends and family. That would mean a lot. Thanks. This is the fourth and final episode in our pronunciation series. In the first episode, we practiced R and L. In the second, we worked on the TH sound. In the third, we practiced V and B. And today we'll practice the difference between sh and ch. These sounds sound similar, but they are not the same. For example, ship and chip. So let's practice with word pairs, some fun tongue twisters, and finally a mini story. Listen and repeat. Ship, chip, shop, chop, sheep, cheap, shore, chore, cash, catch, mash, match, washer, watcher, wishing, witching. Let's practice with some examples. Listen and repeat. Ship, chip. The ship carries a chip. Shop, chop. They shop before they chop veggies. Sheep, cheap. Betty the sheep is not cheap. Shore, chore. The shore is beautiful, but the chore is boring. Cash, catch. He will catch the cash. Mash, match. They mash the food before the match. Washer, watcher. The washer made noise, but the watcher stayed calm. Wishing, witching. She was wishing during the witching hour. Now let's have fun with the tongue twisters. Ready? Listen and repeat. She sells chips on the ship. She sells chips on the ship. Cheap sheep sleep. Cheap sheep sleep. Charlie chops cheap cheese. Charlie chops cheap cheese. Shayla ships shiny shoes. Shayla ships shiny shoes. She should choose cheap chips for the ship. She should choose cheap chips for the ship. Chubby children chew chewy chocolate on the shore. Chubby children chew chewy chocolate on the shore. Shy Charlie shouted sharply at the cheerful chef. Shy Charlie shouted sharply at the cheerful chef. Good job! If you want to practice more, get my pronunciation course. Visit pronunciationcourse.com and get started now. Now let's practice with a mini story. I'll tell you a short story. Then I'll ask you questions. After each question, you'll answer out loud. Then I'll confirm the correct answer. This helps you think in English and improve your speaking. Ready? Let's go. Mark was traveling. He wanted a cheap hotel. Who was traveling? Mark. Mark was traveling. What did he want? A cheap hotel. He wanted a cheap hotel. Did he want an expensive hotel or a cheap hotel? A cheap hotel. He wanted a cheap hotel. But Mark pronounced it wrong. He said sheep hotel instead of cheap hotel. Did Mark pronounce it correctly? No, he did not pronounce it correctly. What did he say instead of cheap? Sheep. He said sheep. Did he ask for a cheap hotel or a sheep hotel? A sheep hotel. He asked for a sheep hotel. The receptionist was confused. She asked, "A sheep hotel? Do you mean a hotel for sheep?" Was the receptionist confused? Yes, she was confused. What strange question did she ask? She asked, "Do you mean a hotel for sheep?" Did she think Mark wanted a sheep hotel or a cheap hotel? A sheep hotel. She thought he wanted a sheep hotel, a hotel for animals. Mark shook his head and repeated, "Cheap hotel, please." Did Mark agree or shake his head? He shook his head. What did he repeat? Sheep or cheap? Cheap. He repeated cheap. Still, the receptionist wanted to be sure. She asked, "Do you mean a cheap hotel or a ship hotel near the port?" Where was the ship hotel? Near the port. The ship hotel was near the port. Did Mark want a hotel for ships or a cheap hotel for people? A cheap hotel for people. He wanted a cheap hotel for people. Mark laughed and pointed to the price list. He said, "Cheap. I want the cheap hotel, not a ship and not cheap." Did Mark laugh or cry? He laughed. Mark laughed. What did he point to? The price list. He pointed to the price list. What three words did he contrast? Sheep, ship, and cheap, or cat, dog, and bird? Sheep, ship, and cheap. He contrasted sheep, ship, and cheap. Finally, the receptionist understood. She smiled and gave him the key to a cheap hotel room. Did the receptionist finally understand? Yes, she finally understood. What did she give Mark? A key. She gave him a key. Was it for a sheep hotel, a ship hotel, or a cheap hotel? A cheap hotel. It was for a cheap hotel. Great job! Today you practiced the difference between shush and ch with word pairs, example sentences, tongue twisters, and a mini story. This was the final episode in our pronunciation series. If you want to practice more, get my pronunciation course. Visit pronunciationcourse.com and get started now. If you want to help me, share the podcast with your friends and family. That would mean a lot. Thanks. I'll be back next week with a brand new episode. Bye-bye.
Did you enjoy today's episode? Get the transcript now at speakenglishpodcast.com.